What's up, guys? This is International Master Eric Rosen, and welcome to another video. In this video, I'd like to respond to a YouTube commenter whose name is Oliver K. Bosner, which is a pretty boss name, and he was asking about what to do in the Sicilian when they don't play an early d4, but they play an early knight f3 and bishop c4. So the line he gave me was e4, c5, knight f3, d6, and bishop c4. And he told me he's a dragon player, and he encounters this, I guess, on an occasional basis, and he's not quite sure what to do. So I will say that bishop c4 is a completely fine move, and you're not going to be able to be winning after this move. But I would recommend maybe playing something a little bit different than what you're used to in kind of the normal dragon. Now, normally, if you are a dragon player, you can go ahead and play something like g6, bishop g7, knight f6, and castle, and get a completely playable position. But what I would recommend against bishop c4 is e6. And the idea is to exploit bishop c4 as much as possible. And what you're doing with e6 is you are undermining the bishop. So it's not as effective just kind of staring at your solid pawn chain. And a long-term idea for black in this opening is to eventually play this move d5. So let's say white will continue, let's say white castles. And now the moves I'm playing here for white are just kind of based on what I've seen beginners play. I have a lot of students who might play against this as black. And I see a lot of white players just kind of playing kind of standard, normal developing moves. And what I want to show is a potential trap that white could walk into. So let's play some normal moves for both sides. Let's say d3. I usually like to put the bishop on e7. I should note that if you're going to put your pawn on e6, usually you shouldn't combine the move e6 with the move g6 because it's usually a little bit too weakening. So bishop e7, very standard here, knight c3, castle. And let's say white walks into the trap. Now, one of the most natural looking moves here for white is actually a terrible, terrible mistake. That move is bishop to e3. And from this point on, black is winning material. And if you haven't seen this before, it can be somewhat shocking. And I would encourage those who haven't seen this before to pause your video and find the material winning move for black. So the move is very simply pawn d5. And the point is that black is going to end up forking white. So if white takes and black takes, d5 or d4 is coming. And white has to lose a minor piece no matter what. So if bishop to b3, d5, let's say bishop take, black has won a piece for a pawn with a significant edge. And it won't be all the time that white will fall into this trap, but it's always nice to have kind of a trap that your opponent might fall into. And it's always nice to know an opening where there is a trap because sometimes it's a bit more motivational to play it. Let's say white doesn't fall into the trap, and let's say white plays perhaps a more standard or better move like rook e1. Black's plan is simply to continue development. Black wants to play knight c6, and the long-term plan for black in this position is something you'll see a lot, especially in maybe more closed Sicilian positions, is black wants to expand on the queen side. And the very simple idea is to play a6, b5, and sometimes that can be supported as well with rook b8. And if we perhaps play some moves for white, let's say white doesn't play bishop e3, which would be bad again, but plays some move like bishop to g5, then very simply a6. If white prevents this, let's say a4. This will occasionally happen. What black can do, another plan, is to play knight to d4. And this is a move which, if you play the Sicilian, you should kind of become accustomed with. It's a move to not only try and gain more space, but to kind of be a bit more aggressive and create some pressure in white's position. And you should not be scared of knight take d4, because after pawn take d4, yes, you do have double pawns, but after this move knight e2, you have a few different ways of playing here. Maybe the most obvious way is to play e5 and just kind of secure your pawns, and really there's not too many problems with this position for black. But a more aggressive way of playing, and the move I really like here, is pawn d5. And what this does is it kicks the bishop. If pawn take d5, you can actually take with knight, and some trades might happen, but then your pawn on d4 is well reinforced, and it's not a bad position for black. So I think I hope some of this answered what to do against bishop c4. I think kind of knowing your piece placement is one thing that will be helpful in the opening, but then the other thing is kind of understanding how your setup will dictate your plans. And in this case, especially with Sicilian positions, these plans of expanding on the queen side and going for central play are important to know. And it's the type of position where if you kind of know it ahead of time, then you can play it over the board and not have to be trying to come up with ideas over the board. So I hope that helped. For people who might have kind of similar questions, feel free to comment below, and I will see you guys in the next video.